It's August 17th, 1943. Just another day for the men of the U.S. Army Air Corps in England. Dawn breaks over the mist-shrouded countryside of East Anglia to reveal a scene of bustling activity. Ground crewmen hurry about making last-minute preparations for the day's mission. Bombs are loaded, engines are tuned, machine guns are cleaned, while every round of ammunition is checked and rechecked. In nearby Quonset huts, thousands of aviators anxiously await the start of today's briefing. Silently, they pray that they'll be given a milk run, perhaps a rail yard in France or a German airfield in Belgium. But when their grim-faced commanders step before them, they know that today's mission will be a rough one. All this activity centered around one objective: to get the 8th Air Force's fleet of Boeing B-17 Flying Fortresses into the air and over their target. The B-17 had become the main American instrument of strategic warfare, a plane dedicated from its outset to lay waste to enemy war industries.
The strategic bombing offensive was designed by the Allies as the only way at the time they could get at Germany and try and divert resources away from the Eastern Front and give assistance to the Russians. They weren't prepared at the time to launch a ground invasion of Europe, so they used the bombing campaign to try and get at German industry, reduce their ability to put out equipment, and also to divert weapons and production of weapons to anti-aircraft systems and to fighter production, and also in diverting German aircraft to defense of the fatherland. All those planes that were flying against the bombers weren't flying against the Russian armies.
It was a modern marvel, armed with 13 machine guns and capable of flying 2,000 miles or more with its load of deadly explosives tucked inside its bomb bay. The world had never seen such power in an aircraft, and only the most advanced nation could have even conceived of such a destructive weapon. Each flying fortress carried aloft 6 miles of electrical wiring within its metal frame. Its generators could light all the rooms in a good-sized hotel. Each B-17 carried enough steel for 160 washing machines and enough aluminum for 50,000 percolators. The rubber used in its wing deicers could retread almost 1,000 automobile tires. Each B-17 cost almost $500,000, a huge sum for the time. The B-17 was truly an American weapon, complex, expensive, huge, larger than life. And it had been built for a uniquely American role: daylight precision bombing, a role that was hoped would shorten the war by knocking out factories vital to Germany's war effort. And on this day in August of 1943, the B-17s and their crews would set out to prove that they could get the job done. Far from a milk run to France, the targets for today would be the Regensburg Messerschmitt plant and the ball bearing factories around Schweinfurt.
Schweinfurt had dozens and dozens of ball bearing plants and factories around the city. In fact, Schweinfurt produced between 30 and 40% of all the ball bearings used by Germany and its allies. So the philosophy was, if you could knock out the ball bearing factories around Schweinfurt, the German Army and Air Force, actually, and Navy, would grind to a halt because they wouldn't have ball bearings, which was a key component to any mechanical item.
The 8th Air Force would be sticking its head right into the Tiger's jaws, and the Tiger would be waiting. With the briefing concluded, the bomber crews climb aboard trucks and jeeps for the short drive to their own flying forts. The B-17s are ready to go. The mechanics and armorers have worked through the night to make sure that every bomber is fit to fly. The plan calls for two groups of bombers to coordinate their attacks on Regensburg and Schweinfurt. The 4th Bomb Wing's 139 B-17s would go in first, hitting the Messerschmitt factory, then flying on to North Africa in an effort to confuse the German defenses. Meanwhile, close behind the 4th Bomb Wing would come the 1st Bomb Wing's 222 Flying Fortresses. They would sneak in behind the 4th and destroy the ball bearing factories around Schweinfurt. Bad weather ruined the plan. The Luftwaffe almost ruined the mission. The B-17s form up over England before heading out toward Germany. The 4th Bomb Wing is already 90 minutes late. They'll be lucky to reach North Africa by sundown. As the first 139 bombers cross into Belgium, the second wave of bombers still hasn't even left the ground back in East Anglia. In fact, the 1st Bomb Wing would be delayed 5 hours. The attackers would go in piecemeal, and the Luftwaffe would tear them to pieces. The 4th Bomb Wing is attacked first. Scores of German Messerschmitt 109s and Focke-Wulf 190s rip into the bomber formations. They concentrate on the trailing squadrons in the 15-mile-long bomber stream.
The Germans threw something on the order of 300 fighters at these 147 B-17s, and the low group was the most vulnerable, and the 100th Bomb Group earned its reputation that day that has stuck with them for 60 years, 50, 60 years, as being known as the hard luck outfit. They called it the Bloody 100th. Anyway, they went in, the Germans went in, made head-on passes at the high boxes, went down through the low boxes, and then just clobbered the 100th. And I think the 100th lost 10 or 11 out of its 21 aircraft on its way to Regensburg. The guys stayed on target, however. I mean, you have to just admire the bravery of the bomber crews.
By the time the bombers reach Regensburg, 18 of the 139 bombers are already gone. But the remaining flying forts drop their bombs with startling accuracy. The Messerschmitt factory is utterly destroyed. Convinced that